Right. Just if you could keep yourselves muted just for a small time, because what's we're going to do on this call is that we're going to give you some tips that we think would be useful for you guys, and then feel free to unmute yourselves if you want to ask any questions and anything. We'd love to hear from you guys, what you guys are doing, what you guys think about our tips and suggestions, and so we can create here knowledge sharing between all of us as well. So our idea is that we keep doing chats like this one. Hopefully it'll help you guys. If there's ever any topic that you'd like us to talk about and to get into, feel free to let us know at any point. We're here to help you guys at this time. And so, yeah, so the first topic we want to bring up is about rates. And so I'll pass on the mic to you, Lior.
All right, so yeah, something that's really, I think, important to talk about as we're talking about bouncing back from COVID. So today, the topic is just that, right? Bouncing back from COVID. We've already had a conversation with people about their current situation, and we've talked about other things as well. And we just wanted to make sure that we also talk about things that you should do now, so that when you do start seeing some pickup and some demand coming back, then you're able to optimize on the sales that are coming in. We know it's going to be a rough recovery time. Just as we go through that recovery time, I think it's really good that we talk about this together and think about the best actions that we can take to optimize that comeback. So within that, I wanted to make sure that we talked about rates. I think it's really important to note that non-refundable, for example, is completely useless right now, and nobody wants to book a non-refundable. And so people are still looking to travel in the future. And I think that the hostel industry is going to be the quickest one to bounce back, because we have those backpackers that are really resilient, that just want to get out there and travel again. Other segmentations that we're going to talk about later in the call as well. And so they're still looking to travel, but they're not willing to commit to a non-refundable. So usually in our non-refundables, at least at Hostel.Consulting, we suggest that they're about 15 to 20% below the standard rate. And actually, I mean, we've had talks about this. It's not, we don't see it at Hostel.Consulting as a discount, rather that your base price is your non-refundable, and then you add almost like a surcharge for convenience or for flexibility. So that's completely out the window at this point. And because what would happen is somebody who's not willing to look at non-refundable sees your base price as 15, 20% above the rate that they don't want. So they're seeing almost like a surcharge that right now they're not willing to pay, as opposed to before, where they were seeing it as a discount for booking with less flexible conditions. So now it's not positive at all. And I would suggest that people just shut off their non-refundable, don't use it in the same way. However, we need to talk about still empowering people to book in advance with an early booker fare and getting some discount in order to incentivize them to book now and make some commitment. Now, an early booking special always has to come with some restrictions. So we need to put some restrictions on that. You can call it, minimum stays, date of arrival, date of departure, or the days themselves. There's certain restrictions, but I would think that the main restriction that we should focus on here is still a pay up front and non-refundable, but a flexible non-refundable, meaning that they can change the dates of their reservation. So they're making a commitment that, yes, I am coming, I'm getting a discount for booking early, but I know that I have the flexibility to change my dates if something comes up, if I'm not able to leave my country, if the situation doesn't clear up in the country I'm going to. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Let me see. So I just reset everything to make sure the call goes well. Let me see. All right, here we go. So everybody here's, are you seeing the American Airline website? Perfect.
Yeah.
So I kind of look at American Airlines and airlines in general when thinking of revenue management. They're really the leaders. They started revenue management. If anyone heard my talk about revenue management at the last Hostel Skills, it kind of stemmed with the airlines and then was adapted into other markets and then eventually into hotels and hostels. And so American Airlines, when we go into their website, the first thing we see is coronavirus travel updates. And the first message there is change fees are waived if you're traveling through September 30th, 2020. Below, if we go down, there's also a really good message here. It's easy to change your trip. They talk about booking with confidence here. So for more peace of mind when you book travel, we're waiving change fees on new trips booked by May 31st, 2020. So the message there is really clear, and this is what my tip for you guys to get across with your rates is it's still incentivizing people to book, but there still is a restriction. It's just flexible. So they're still paying you upfront, just as they do with these airlines. It's still non-refundable. They're not talking about you can cancel and get a refund at any time, but they're showing that there's flexibility in here. Another thing to know while we're here is you can see another message there right beside it, your safety comes first. So we'll talk a little bit more about this as well, but really important to communicate the safety precautions that you're taking for the travelers that are coming to your hostel. Now, if we go to EasyJet, just picked randomly another airline because I like to look at them, and you can see a rotating communication here on the left. So need to move your flight. We have full flexibility, book with flexibilities, and then give some ideas on travel. I believe there's another message that pops up as well, talking about this kind of flexibility. So that's what I kind of want to discuss with people, just kind of a round table, talk about your rates. Is this a good idea to implement? How is it implementable? We should talk about, it's going to be easier to do, it should be easier to do with your own booking engine and your own site because you're making that communication and you're the one that is in control of that communication. I've already talked to Hostel World and I continue to talk to them about creating a flexible non-refundable rate, which they are working on developing. They've been communicating that they're working on this and nothing's launched yet, but they're quickly rolling this out as quick as they can because they understand also that you should be able to offer this rate now through the OTAs. Booking.com, I'm not quite sure if they've jumped on this already. Maybe somebody can speak to that if they've seen anything. We could also have quite a big debate about Booking.com and non-refundable, but I don't want to get into that right now. So yeah, if anybody wants to speak about this, this new rate and the non-refundables, we're welcome to unmute yourself and just discuss with the group. If you have any questions or opinions on this.
Marco and Linda have some questions. So guys, feel free to unmute yourselves and jump in.
Hello.
Hey, Steve.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So we had a meeting with Hostel World on here a couple weeks ago, and we
Steve,
talked
sorry.
about.
Before you actually start, if you and Linda could introduce yourself, everyone, if you speak, just, I mean, it's a fun hostel chat. We like to know each other.
We're Linda and Steve. We own the Beehive in Rome. The whole thing with Hostel World, I don't know what your experience is like, but with us, when somebody books through Hostel World and then wants to change, because Hostel World doesn't, have any way to change a reservation, they just contact us directly. And what our response to them is, yeah, we have space. So if you want to go ahead and cancel your reservation through Hostel World, you can book it directly with us, which since we raise our prices for Hostel World, it's very easy to convince them to do it because they'll get a cheaper rate. And it's better for us as well. And then what they paid to Hostel World, they can credit towards another reservation that they booked with Hostelworld. So for us, it's actually completely against our interest for Hostelworld to have it be changeable through their site. And I don't really know how this is different for other people. For us, it makes no sense at all that they allow this. It's much better that they just cancel and book directly. The other thing about which, we just made a comment in the chat, but the whole problem that we would see with people making a booking that's changeable, having some sort of an incentive to pay in advance, is that if they want to change it and what they want isn't available on the dates that they want it, then what happens? I mean, if we're at that point liable to refund their money, then I would rather not have charged it, spent it, and then have the liability of refunding them. It would have been better to just not charge them in the first place. So I think where it makes sense with airlines, because they almost always have a change fee, since that's not really the case when it comes to changing a hotel stay. To me, it's kind of apples and oranges. I don't really see how having a flexible policy really helps us. Because at the end of the day, if what they want isn't available, then what do? Do you refund them? And if so, then what was the point?
So first, if I could speak about the OTAs, I'm not going to advocate for stealing and getting direct reservations, so I don't want to get into that. But I think definitely you need to see.
Well, hang on. I'm not saying anything about stealing them. I'm saying we have space, and if you want to book it through Hostelworld again, like you did before, you're totally free to do so. But if they contact me directly to change it, and then it's essentially like our job at that point to be making this change, and not something that the OTA can do. We also tell them it is cheaper if you book it, if you want to book it directly through us, it is cheaper.
Yeah, but
so we don't lie about that either.
Right. Well, the thing is, I mean, we have to look at the OTA as big marketing for your property, because they put you on. I mean, when you look at Rome, the Beehive is there, and they're looking and they're comparing your price with the competitors that are on Hostelworld. So they're comparing your visibility, and the comparison of your rates are directly on Hostelworld. So if you just don't use this flexible non-refundable from Hostelworld because you don't believe that well, you don't want to partake in it for whatever reason, you're also not going to be competitive with your competitors on Hostelworld, for them to then go on your site and see that, okay, yeah, you do offer flexibility, but only direct and not on the Hostelworld. Again, I think it's about trying to get as many reservations as possible right now, and limiting the options that are going to get you reservations from the OTAs is counterproductive to that.
No, I agree. I mean, if they make it an option, then definitely we would want to be part of it. What I'm saying is, I don't really see how making it an option is particularly better for us. Once it is an option, then we'll have to. But I mean, explain how you think it's going to work. Like, somebody wants to change, then what happens?
So it's always based on availability. I mean, if somebody goes to book for you for the first time on a day that you're full, they can't complain that you're full, right? So it's always, a reservation is based on the availability of the room type that you have on those dates. If then somebody goes to change, now this is where terms and conditions would have to be very clear on Hostelworld and on your side as well. And that's something that we've talked about with them as well, is there needs to be some terms and conditions to this flexibility. A subject to availability is an obvious one that I'm sure will be said and doesn't even have to be said. If you have no availability on a date that they're trying to change to, they can't change to that date. It's the same as if I tried to change a flight, even before when there was fees to do that, I couldn't change it paying that fee on a flight that was not available. There has to be that availability. Now, the amount of times that it can be changed or how it can be changed, that then depends on the terms and conditions. If it's only one change that's allowed per booking, if it's several changes, up to what point, whether it has to be done through Hostelworld or through you. But I assume Hostelworld, if they're going to launch this, they'll implement it maybe further in a way that they can change directly on their app or on their reservation based on availability, obviously. So then it would be seamless, where your reservation would just move dates by your connection from your from your PMS and your channel manager, it would just move dates to another date. Of course.
Now, if the rate was higher on that other date, they would pay the difference, yeah?
Exactly.
So isn't that exactly the same way it is now?
The same way as with non-refundable?
No, I mean, as it is right now, if you book through Hostelworld and then you want to cancel it and rebook, Hostelworld will let you apply that deposit towards another booking. So let's say you put in a set of dates in Rome and you see what's available, and let's say we're the thing that you want that day, and you book it. Right now, you already have that flexibility on many Hostelworld reservations. On the dates that you want to change it to, you just check the general availability for that city. You rebook and you apply your...
But they can go to like, they can book again, but to any other hostel, not just, it's not locked to yours.
Yeah,
And
so
but Steve, you're
guest,
talking
it's
about
better as it is right now.
But Steve, you're talking about a standard rate. You're not talking about an early booker rate with a discount. So that's the difference, right? If they just book a standard rate, then they can cancel at any time and do whatever they want. And that's the standard rate condition, which is why there's a surcharge for that, what I call a surcharge. But the non-refundable is they pay you now and then they can't change currently. But what it needs to move to in order to gain some reservations in future is a flexible non-refundable, in order to still incentivize people to book in advance at a discount. So currently at the non-refundable, if they want to change it through Hostelworld, through Booking, or through you, the terms and conditions of a non-refundable is you can cancel, but it's not refundable, right? So that's the big difference there.
But if somebody booked a non-refundable with you for dates X, and then they can't do it through Hostelworld, but if they wanted to come on different dates and you had those dates available, I mean, our policy would be, okay, we'll apply what you paid to these other dates and it would be fine. So, I mean, I guess what I'm wondering is, how does it really, I mean, at what point would a guest feel like, okay, I booked these dates, I paid in advance, now I want these other dates and it's not available. So I'm essentially screwed. And as a guest, I probably would have been better off just booking something that was a regular standard rate, not paying in advance. And then, you know, later on having the flexibility to book any other property in a city that was available. I mean, unless the discount is really great, but at that point, it seems like if it's a level playing field that this option doesn't exist, we're all better off because we're not giving a discount for this option. If we all end up having to, you know, give a discount for this option, it's not all that much. I mean, I guess it's slightly better for cash flow because you have the money up front, but I don't know, is that really, like, what's the objective here? Is it a cash flow issue, or is it?
The arguments you're making are pretty much the same as just not having non-refundable, for example, because if you're giving somebody a discount in a non-refundable and then they need to cancel for whatever reason, they would also get upset. Oh, then I could have just booked a standard and it would have been easier. And yes, of course, that's the same kind of argument. Now, in our experience in Hostel.Consulting, when we look at the sales of a property and we make adjustments, if they don't have non-refundable, that's the first thing that we do is we put in non-refundable with a certain discount or gap. It's not a discount, as I said, but let's call it a discount. But we put in a gap in price so that we incentivize people to book at an early booker special and pay now. And it usually increases the production. I don't want to say the revenue, like not the incoming, but it increases their revenue per available bed by 20 to 25%. In the long term. I'm not talking about just because there's cash coming in now. I'm talking about a consistent basis. It's about a 25% increase in revenue. And it's because they're capturing more bookings because you're incentivizing people to book instead of just, okay, I can wait and see if the price changes, if I'm really going to go or if I'm not. So you're offering them a hook to book with you now. And then usually they end up, not usually, but sometimes they'll end up canceling, and you, in your case, as you said, you would then move their dates gladly. Not everybody does that. A lot of people, okay, non-refundable is non-refundable, and they've lost that money, which also helps in the revenue. These kind of like discounts that you're giving are also compensated by the small amount of people that cancel a non-refundable even though they're not getting their money back. All right. Did that answer all the questions? I think you then went on to another point with the OTA when you're, or about the rate.
Anyway, I mean, lots of people have other questions, so we should just move on. Yeah.
Yeah, Marco had one question as well. So Mark, feel free to unmute yourself and ask it.
You're muted. Now you're good.
Could you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I'm Marco. I'm from Free Hostel. For me, it's interesting the question of non-refundable flex, that everybody talk about that. But the really point is not everybody can choose what they want to do with the air price. But the point is, if we do a flexible rate, we discuss it with Booking, Hostel World, or our website, we have to follow a line, because the problem is when people start to travel, we don't know the impact that we receive. So if I give you this flexible rate, what I mean, that if you pay 20 euro, for example, in 3 months that is higher, the occupancy, I have to maintain, or you have to pay like the company flight extra for change the rate, the difference, what I mean? Because if not, if you pay like a voucher that you can use in every date you want, could be a little bit complicated, or I don't know, no?
I'm sorry, I didn't fully understand that. Beatrice, did you get it?
Yeah, I think you had like you pay a non-refundable rate. You choose the dates, you pay that amount. Imagine 100 euros, and then when you want to change it, if you have a higher occupancy, will you have to get the same price, or people will have to pay for the change? So basically, if you have a higher price in the new dates that the person chooses, then you'll have to charge that extra amount. It's not like they're not paying to change the dates. They're paying because your prices for those dates are higher, and that's it. If the new dates they choose, they paid for these dates 100 euros. If the new dates also cost 100 euros, then they won't have to pay anything. But if the new dates cost 150, then they have to pay the extra 50 euros.
Yeah. This is important to specify, because everybody know Booking, or everybody, when you sign a contract, they can come to you and say, okay, you buy this flexible rate, so my guest now can come in August or in September with the same price, and you cannot change it. So
we've talked about this with Hostel World as well. It's not going to be the same price. It's if there is a higher price on the new dates, they have to pay that extra price. And the same thing, even in the airlines, they do the same thing. If you, aside from the fee that they do or do not charge, if you go on another flight that's more expensive, you pay the difference. Yeah. Okay. And I mean, that should bring us up to a good point, because you mentioned possibly the use of a voucher that can just be used. I hope everyone's heard about this, but Adopt a Hostel, for example, what we're doing now is setting it up so that hostels can sell a gift card, which is like a value voucher that they can use on future reservations. So it kind of is like this flexible non-refundable in a very open way. It's just like, okay, you're buying 50 euros and you can use it in the future at any time for something that it costs 70 and you have to pay 20. So it gives them that voucher.
And the last thing, think about everybody. This, no? Why, for example, we don't start to change our mind, and this flexible, non-refundable, we can use only for our website, for example, and don't give this opportunity to the OTA, no? And just leave the standard rate or whatever else.
But again, I think what we need to understand is that OTAs work so well because people go to them, and that's where you're marketing. So if you're not marketing a rate with an early booker discount or special, that ends up helping you at the end, because you're getting reservations for the future that you may or may not have to change, but it's money in your pocket that you don't have to give back. So it's I'm thinking of a Spanish term that comes up, which is like, it's better to have one in the hand than 100 flying, right? So it's if you don't do that with the OTAs, then you're also limiting the amount of reservations you're going to get from the OTAs, whether everybody's doing it or nobody's doing it. The fact that there is a discounted rate to incentivize people to book in advance gets you more reservations. It gets people to commit. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
Dror wants to ask a question as well. Dror, feel free to unmute yourself.
Hey guys, just a quick thing about this. I think one of the problems with what we just said now about changing price and the different price on different dates is that we all hate the airlines. Nobody like calling an airline and say, you know what, guys, I need a flight to change my flight for the next day, the next week. It doesn't matter if there's no charge for the changing of the flights, because sometimes you pay for that in advance as well. You'll still, 99% of the time, will pay more. Now, don't remember the time that the airline gave me back money because I chose a flight that was actually cheaper than the flight I initially booked. I think there's a dangerous area here of putting us the same as the airline. I think the beautiful thing about hostels is that we all care about our customers and we all have great relationship with our guests. And I think when we get our guests calling us and saying, look, my country isn't open up yet, I cannot come to your place on the date we agreed initially, can I change to a different date? And you tell them, oh yeah, but that date is 50 euros more, now you have to pay that. After that customer gave us money in advance when we needed it the most, because that's what we're talking about now. We're talking about like, how do we get a reservation now? So he's saying, book 3 months in advance, give me the 100 euros now, which without that 100 euros, I might be out of business. And then 3 months from now, you contact me and tell me, sorry, I can't actually get there on the date we agreed on because I cannot leave my country yet. And you say, oh yeah, it's fine. Come in 3 weeks time when you are open and you can come, pay an extra 50 euros. Nobody's gonna like you. I really think that if you're doing that pre-sale in advance for long period on, especially this time, I would say nearly any time of the year, except for maybe you can put in your terms and condition like that you're not including New Year's and a few other days. I'll say my personal opinion, and that's what we do, is that anytime you want to change to, as long as you're booking the same type of room, you're good. If you're going to a cheaper room, you get some voucher, you get some money back that you can use while you're staying in the hostel for drinks or food. If you're going to a more expensive room, you pay the difference. But if you're going to the same type of room, nearly any time of the year, except for certain days decided in advance, doesn't matter how full or empty the hostel is. And I think this is the only way that we can actually end up with our customers still loving us at the end of this. And not saying, I gave 100 euros to help this place when they asked me for it, and now they're fucking me over. That's all.
Yeah, I agree, especially for these times, because you are trying to get that money in advance because you need it as a hostel to keep the cash flow. But yeah, I totally agree with that. That you would have to commit to if they want to change at the same rate, not at the new price that you put, except for those special dates, New Year's, Easter, whatever.
We do it every day of the year, every year so far. But I'll say that I think if anybody's doing it, think of changing the ways they work now. Think of your relationship with your customers more than how much you might be losing in the future, 20 euros or 50 euros on a bed that you might have been able to book for more when you got the money when you actually needed it.
Well, I mean, this could be quite a debate because I know actually Linda I think could be really into this debate because it's about balancing what Dror said about us being people persons and trying to please everybody, and we're the cool hippie backpackers that we're in it for everyone in the community, and we're not big corporations like airlines. But then you get some hostels that do that, and then other hostels that are rigid and keep up with their actual conditions. And so it kind of makes it so that if somebody does keep up with their condition of, for example, non-refundable or charging the difference in price or whatever, then they have the guest has an experience of flexibility with other hostels that have given them this flexibility, and so they demand it from all of the hostels. So it's a little bit of a debate that we've had before in the hostel industry, where it's like we're either all working the same, or we're all working differently. It's a breakfast conversation, like if people expect that in a hostel you're going to have free breakfast, you're going to have free this, you're going to have free that, and then you get to a hostel that charges for breakfast, and then it's like, okay, well, they're gouging me. Or non-refundables, for example. I mean, in non-refundables, the terms and conditions are pretty clear. If you cancel, your stay is not refunded. But then there's some hostels that take it upon themselves, which is great, to refund them or to give them credit for a future stay. It's just then that customer will expect that from us as an industry, right? So that's another debate, I think. And so some really good points from Jor. If anyone else wants to speak on that, Benedita?
I just have a question. Shall we have to wait for the big hotels to implement this flexible rate, or if our reservation, well, we have the how you call it,
Front desk master.
Yeah, it's not this, but usually I work with Front Desk Master, but other people work with other sites. Shall we wait for the big hotels to implement this, right? Or can we develop it with our?
Yeah, I got the question. So you can definitely start now on your own channels and booking engine, as long as your PMS or channel manager or booking engine allows for those configurations. So I know, for example, with Front Desk Master, you can set a rate with its own name and a description in there. So when somebody goes to your booking engine and goes to reserve, they will see the rate name, which is flexible non-refundable, and the conditions, which is, like money will be taken up front and is non-refundable. However, you can make X amount of changes to your dates. Any change in price with dates will be charged, blah, 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 blah. So you can do that. And check with, if anyone else wants to do this, check with your PMS. I know we have Cloudbeds in here, so they could talk to us as well about it with my allocator in the booking button. But you can check with your PMS, your booking engine, if they allow for this kind of customizable configuration in the rates.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, Benedita, you can hop on that right away, and then as the OTAs introduce it, then you can just opt into it. They won't force it on you. You'll have to opt into it. So you just need to be aware of it and then opt in when you can. But you can go ahead and set it right away on your... Mm-hmm. All right. Beatrice, you're keeping up with the chat because I'm not looking at it if you want to...
Yeah, no worries. I'm replying there. Although Marco has asked a question that I didn't understand. He says, we can make more money, let pay a little insurance like airplane company. Marco, if you'd like to clear that up.
No, I say it's the same process of the airplane company. No, when you want to buy, when we flight and we want to change the rate, generally you pay a little quantity of money to make your rate flexible. With the Vueling, I do many times. I'm not sure. I pay €7 for flight company, and I can move without any. Without paying more money.
Marco, that's actually exactly what I was discussing, that for me, a non-refundable is the base price and flexibility comes at a price. So for me, it's like, we think of non-refundable as a discount, where I see it the opposite way, which is my base price or my rate is, my rate is non-refundable. If you want extra flexibility, it's this much more. That's the way I look at it. That's not the way we communicate it to the customers, which is great because we want to communicate there's a discount. But when you look at it revenue-wise, I always suggest to look at your non-refundable as the rate you actually want. And if somebody wants flexibility, then it's at a surcharge. So that's exactly what the airlines do. with this flexibility.
Also because for hostel, just €2 for insurance, for us it's okay, for example, no? It's a little bit, but for the price of the bed, it's okay.
Yeah, the only things that I actually suggest, I mean, this is going back to the non-refundable days, which hopefully will be back, but I often suggest a high gap between your non-refundable and your standard, because you want to give them a good incentive to book in advance. So if I just see that, okay, for €2 I can have a standard rate, or for €1 I can have a standard rate and flexibility, people will always go for that. And that's not what you want. What you want is a vast majority to book a non-refundable rate that commits them to come to your property. So we actually suggest a bigger gap. Now, with the flexible non-refundable, I think there should be a gap as well, but not as big. So usually I suggest 15 to 20% gap for non-refundable and standard. In this case, I would probably suggest 7 to 10%, because you do want to, you kind of have to be careful to balance the people that are willing to take the risk, even though it's still, there is flexibility, people that want to take the risk, and people that just want complete freedom and are willing to pay a little bit extra, as you say, for that flexibility. So we need to start with the flexible non-refundable. I think we should start with a smaller percentage of a discount rather than the full non-refundable, which is a big discount.
It's complicated because if you put too low, the standard, probably everybody want to standard at the moment, you know. So or you put the price like 50% or 40%, that means a present of bed, or I don't know. It's difficult to understand how many is the quantity, no?
Yeah.
Pam wrote something on the chat saying that she could share something about the voucher. So Pam, the souvenir that Lear got swanky.
People don't want to unmute themselves.
Yeah, sorry. Hi, everybody. My name is Pam. I'm from Swanky Mint Hostel in Zagreb, Croatia. So I don't know how many of you know that Zagreb was also hit in the middle of the coronavirus with an earthquake, the biggest one in 140 years. So luckily for Swanky, we did very good. We are in the building from the 19th century. So it's very crazy because buildings around us are really, really damaged. So that's also another problem that properties here are dealing with. We luckily, as I said, didn't have a lot of damage. This is not nice to say maybe for others, but for us it's good that a lot of hostels literally closed down. A lot of them, a lot of landlords didn't allow not paying rent or postponing rent. So a lot of businesses actually closed down forever, how it seems. So we are hoping to bounce back really fast because Croatia is one of the most positive examples of fighting this. We are still under 1,500 people who are affected. The good part is that we have a really, really good developed and famous bar, which we hope that's going to be the first moment to get the cash back in. I mean, also because of the bar, we were counting on some money from the partners, but they all are not paying anything now. So we had to shut down the place until further notice. So what's the first thing that we did was dealing with groups. We were sold out basically with groups for like April, May, even March already. So they already paid half of the money. And you know, groups, we have 93 beds. So there was a lot of money in, and we first started to be like, listen, come whenever you want for the same price, just not to lose or refund thousands of euros, you know. I know maybe long term doesn't make much sense if they pick, you know, September next year or July. But we're counting on most of them that we're not going to do that. Why? Because like certain groups are connected with universities. Some are connected with sport manifests, like events and different things. So most events are held before or after the season. So the price range would not be that different. We also do not accept big groups during the high season. So June, July, August. So that problem with prices, at least for the groups, you won't have a problem. Most of them are being very considerate. Some of them already postponed. We are giving them until 2021 end of the year. Some of them are asking, of course, deposits back because, you know, it's an agency doing with whoever, parents are asking money back. We are asking them for understanding. It's a lot of money involved. You know, government needs to give certain help, blah, blah, blah. For now, groups are being very understandable. As far as individual bookings, of course, those coming from OTAs are canceling like mad. Even canceling for September, canceling for November, like those few crazy ones that we had planning so much in advance, they're all canceling. I'm not worried about the OTAs. As Lior said, like we kind of need them. We're all fighting for direct bookings, but whatever they come up with, we'll have to play along. We'll give them our feedbacks, but they're still the most, like they're carriers of our businesses. For now, at least for us, still the most booking is coming from booking.com, then Hostelworld, then others. For individual ones that contact us directly, we are offering them change of the dates. I'm talking about OTA guests now. We are offering them change of the dates in case they want. We are also being like booking had that, I forgot that French word, but meaning like if you're canceling in September and it was non-refundable, sorry, there are no restrictions yet, right? About traveling in September. It's still far away. We're not sure what's going to happen. We're still offering them to change their dates if they don't want to. I'm sorry, terms and conditions. It's non-refundable. It's go talk to booking, customer service. That's what they told me also directly, because I asked them like, what am I supposed to do now if people are canceling so far in advance, you know? So we are relying on our vouchers. We are giving this custom made for every guest for the amount that they booked. We are making now new ones to kind of sell depending on different prices, like 50 euros, 100 euros. For 20 euros, you're gonna have free rakia. For 50 euros, you're gonna have a free lunch. We're adding something to it, I don't know, just to like try to have this money come in and then making them you know, come in an end. For the future, as Lior said, I highly agree. I think hostels were firstly affected and everything, but I think from this type of industry that we will bounce back really faster than everybody else, just because we have these crazy backpackers, people who want to travel, who are not that easily maybe afraid or intimidated or whatever it is. Luckily, the position of Croatia in Europe is that for now, we are kind of concentrated on the neighboring countries and our own, considering we maybe won't even need flights. We're counting on people who are travel with buses, with trains, hop in a car for a weekend or something like that. So, of course, accommodating to everybody, but being uncertain about the airlines and all of that, how it's going to go down and people are losing a lot of money and everything, that we are counting maybe more on people around us to save us, including the locals. I think that's it for now. Thank you.
So Pam, I think maybe I should have structured it a little bit differently because maybe there was some confusion. Everything you said was great. I just want to point out that when I spoke about non-refundable earlier, it's new bookings that are coming in as of now, like what we should be doing for sales in the future. For past non-refundables, that is a completely different topic. I'm really glad that you brought it up because it really needs to be discussed. And again, for me, I love what you're doing, Pam, you know, giving them flexibility to book with you in the future, instead of just being rigid. Like many people are just being rigid and say like, no, you book non-refundable and no matter what, it's non-refundable. Another thing that we can learn from the airlines, and I was going to bring this up as well, is I've had some flights canceled and I'm seeing what they're doing and I think it's brilliant. It's they're offering an extra X% if you change your dates or if you get a voucher. So it's like, yeah, you can cancel, and some of them actually have to give you money back. I don't know if it's because of force majeure or whatever, but I don't know if they have to give you money back or not, but they're giving you two options. They're like, okay, so we've canceled the flight. You can either get your full refund or you can get 25% more if you purchase opt for a voucher for flights within the next year. So I'm really glad you brought that up, and I want to talk about it. Also, I think, Pam, you're in the Adopt a Hostel program, correct? Is that you?
I know I got an email privately from Cash because I've been following him for a long time. So I'm not sure. I think Tina is handling that. I don't know if we officially joined in.
Yeah, it was Tina. So this is the gift card that Pam was talking about that they're offering to get some money now to sell gift cards in order to inject some cash flow now for reservations that will come in the future. I also want to point out that if anybody's in Adopt a Hostel, or even if you're not, if you set up gift cards with Gift Up, because they're offering us through the program a commissions relief, so the first 5,000 euros in gift cards are with 0 commissions instead of their standard 3.49. You can use these gift cards as vouchers. So you can actually just, you can make your own gift card vouchers. They're virtual and you can use your own graphics. So instead of just making a Word document PDF or something and putting a code and giving somebody a voucher and all that, you can use Gift Up as a platform to make vouchers. Now, I wouldn't have recommended this before because they would take 3.49% on the voucher that you're creating for your customer. But because now you have the commission relief of 5,000 euros for until July 1st, you can use their technology to create gift card vouchers for for these situations. So if you have a non-refundable that you want to give them a voucher, just use Gift Up. It's a possibility. I think Antonio was saying something, or he's talking to somebody else.
I was replying to Antonio, but I'm not sure if everything's clear now or if he wants to jump in and ask anything else. Also, Eli jumped in the chat. If you want to share your thoughts with everybody, that would be great as well. No, probably not.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
What's up?
I heard thoughtfully all the recommendations, but I think I'm in a pretty short term right now. So the only thing that I can think now is the situation that we have from now until the starting next season. So we're gonna pass through a couple of very tough months, and all the suggestions that you're doing or giving here is about how we're going to try to grow one time that we restart our business. But my question is how we're going to do from now to that point. So how we're going to resist, or how we're going to can work or deal with that short term that our tourism is gonna get down mostly until 0. So here in Spain, probably we're gonna miss up all the summertime. So the government now are planning just to don't leave all the Spanish people to get out from the country. And there is no people from outside of our country as well. So we're gonna arrive to the September point. And in September, our customers, mostly customers, are coming from Europe and try to find accommodation for the Erasmus season. And we don't really know at that point as well if we're going to have that customers on our September. So we're planning really to, ¿cómo se dice hibernar? Hibernate maybe until March. This is a good strategy. This is not a good strategy. So this is the thing that really I want to talk about it.
So yeah, if I may just, we actually had a lot of topics for today, and a lot, yeah, and a lot of that was on the list. However, we spent a full hour on flexible non-refundable, which is completely great. Which is completely great. I think it's important to talk about it. Yeah, I'll quickly touch on that, but we're planning to do this on a weekly basis. So I know it can't really wait a week. Everyone's in like an urgent situation. I'll try to post a blog post with other ideas, and then we can discuss them here a little bit further. But definitely, I mean, right now in the current situation that you have, I'm also in Spain, by the way, so I know about the situation here. I mean, with a closed hostel, there's limited things that you can do, and it might even be too late to do it. But opening up your beds for people that need it and getting government support for it, I'm not quite sure in Spain if that is out there. I know Cloudbeds has been, and they're with us, they're working on hospitality helps. So maybe they might be able to speak more about the situation in Spain of whether the government can actually give you support for housing healthcare workers, people that need to self-isolate, blah, blah, blah. But there's very limited things that you can do right now with a closed hostel. Now, once Spain is out of isolation, hopefully by May, hopefully in May, that's when, and this is what one of the topics we want to talk about that we should talk about in a future call, is how to focus on local tourism. So right now, at the beginning of May or June, you're going to have people in Spain, believe it or not, that once they're out of isolation, want to go out and travel, but will not go to another country, but they will go to the south of Spain, they will go to Madrid, they will go to the north. They'll travel within their own country and they'll take weekend getaways, but you need to focus on what market comes available to you, what opportunity. You have to kind of see what pickup is coming, not just to your own hostel, but to your market, and capitalize on that opportunity by marketing to those people.
But I think, sorry that I interrupted, but I think in all the beds that are available now in Spain and the market that represent the Spanish people, and so I mean, so it's like a 10% of the pie to repart of all the people that are here. So this is
of course
unrepresentable piece of market that you're not going to cover with all the costs that you have in the hostel, for sure. This is for the reason that we are planning. So close. So even if we can try to talk with the government and apply for our hostel, you know, for the healthers or whatever, because there's other kind of hostels that they're looking for. They're not looking for hostels. They're looking for hotels, you know, to get to that people a piece of peace, you know, during his resting time, you know. And normally there's like places that are pretty close from the hospitals or from the centers that they need to support anyway. And we have here, you're in Spain now, you're in Seville, are you?
I'm in Madrid, actually.
I'm in Madrid, okay. So we have like, I don't know how many Airbnbs flats here in Spain. I think it's one of the highest places with highest number of Airbnbs. So the touristic offer here is so big because we have a lot of tourists from outside. We have a 10% tourists from Spain, and the rest during that season is 90% from outside. So that's the reason that we are planning just to hibernate. So I think maybe it's the smartest strategy that we can really support, because otherwise it's like the less equipped, the less team that we can have, it's like 5 people, 5 salaries. It's a lot of salaries during 6 months and don't have an income. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you're able to hibernate, there's a lot of people I know in here that can't do that because they can't fire their people, they can't not pay rent, so they have to do with what they can. Unfortunately, I completely understand your situation. I empathize with it 100%. I wish I had a magic wand that I could just wave and you'd be 100% occupancy. That's not going to happen. So we need to, for most people here, we need to be able to do everything we can to, again, it's about optimizing or potentializing the opportunities that are there. So for the ones that do have to stay open, and what I mean by have to stay open is they have staff that they have to pay anyways. You can maybe limit yourself to one floor and have less expenses for electricity and things like that. But people that can open, if you're open with 10%, 20%, it's better than nothing. If you
and you think it's like worth it have like a super reduced team with a control schedule for reception, for example, so don't have like 24 hours reception, so limit that reception and do it something minimum. So I mean, you think that the customer are gonna understand that? Because the Spanish customer, I know how they are, because I'm from Spain, so we're pretty tough sometimes, and we want everything, you know, paying the less price, want the everything, right. You know. But I understand that the foreign people are gonna understand that situation and that problem. But I'm afraid about the national or the local, that is the ones that we're gonna try, that we are gonna deal with, you know. It's like.
Yeah. So, I mean, this could be another discussion about volunteers and whether you want to accept or if you're able to accept volunteers. Exactly. But I would much sooner have a volunteer taking up a bed that would be empty anyways to create atmosphere, to make the place a little bit more full, because at 10% occupancy, there's no atmosphere. So you have volunteers in there that are creating atmosphere, and they could do the night shift. I've had volunteers that do night shift, and it's gone very well, very smooth. They just sit at the desk and read, but you're still giving a 24-hour reception and attention if somebody needs it. So we definitely need to become creative on how can we reduce costs and optimize on the sales that we can get. So, and that's what these chats are all about, right? And again, I wish we could just go back to 100% occupancy the minute we open our doors. It's not gonna happen. Exactly. I really think that the flexible non-refundable rate will have a positive benefit in the mid and long term if it's properly applied. Focusing on local travelers or the new segmentations that are going to come to you, or the first ones that are going to come to you. For example, digital nomads, I believe, there's no study out there, but I believe they'll be the first ones to come back. So, and this is another topic that we wanted to talk about was, for example, making packages for digital nomads, giving them the infrastructure that they need, but also giving them discounted rates for longer stays. So that, again, these are beds that you wouldn't have filled anyways. So if you discount them to something that's affordable to a digital nomad that's going to be the one coming back, it's another drop in the bucket. But, yeah. And eventually, maybe 2 years from now, but eventually your bucket will be full again. But we need to now focus on every single drop until we calmó el vaso.
Se llene.
When it spills over, right?
Desborde el vaso.
We want overbookings again.
Yeah.
But yeah, and if you can't, I mean, if you're able to hibernate and not pay any expenses and it's easier for you, like you need to create possible scenarios and see, like, if I'm at 10% occupancy, if I'm at 40, if I'm at 80, how much expenses do I need for my staff, for this, for that? And maybe you'll find, okay, for 5 people, I'm actually going to lose money because I could have not hired this person, or I could have, I don't need my staff, whatever. But you need to look at those situations and be ready for when you do get to the break point that you should open, because you'll have the 25% occupancy that will make you break even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm agree. Thanks.
Okay.
It's funny how nowadays overbookings and bed bugs sound like a walk in the park.
I think the bed bugs, if we stay closed long enough, the bed bugs will die out. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
All right. Anyone else want to take off on anything that was said, or?
Cash is here. Cash is.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Pam again. No, I wanted just to refer to this, what we are doing. So we put until 20th of April because that was kind of what the government said, but it's probably going to be longer. But that's exactly what we're doing now. We already had 4 or 3 volunteers actually, who wanted to stay or got stuck or couldn't move the countries, and they're near me now, so I can't talk. But basically, I'm happy that we actually were very lucky to have a great team of volunteers. So we are actually having like reception work now for like, let's say 8 hours a day. So we're still like doing like the cleaning and, you know, whatever. We also have like a couple of guests here who got stuck or thrown out of other hostels that we gave like a crazy low rate for them to stay for a month here. So we're taking care of that and just like making a very positive thing out of this whole situation. Of course, all of our staff for now was like basically fired, because in Croatia they can get some money out of the unemployment office. So that was like the best possible rate, of course, with a promise, and it was in the contract, like, we're gonna ask you to come back, of course, like if the situation, God forbid, like gets better soon. So basically that's what we're doing. A couple of us are still, of course, trying to maintain everything going on with the hostel, but for now we're actually using the volunteers to have reception opened officially, but we are still here 24/7 because we sleep here, and among them it's me also. That's it.
Marco, go ahead. You have to unmute yourself. Don't forget to unmute yourself, Marco. Lior, can you unmute him?
I think he might be gone because there we go.
No, he's still here.
It's wrong Marco.
No,
it's the other Marco, Beatriz.
Yeah.
Hi guys.
Hey.
Sorry, I will be Antonio. Don't worry, we are in Italy and Spain. We take all best part of the market. So I will be very critical about this situation, because now is like 1 month because we start in Italy before everybody, and now I live in Spain. We're in Spain, so we is 1 month to talk with everybody, with people. So there is many different scenery, different situation that everybody exposed, no, but no one know what's happening. What we sure in a normally situation, like Pamela say, we're gonna be winner in the future, no? But the problem is you talk about voluntary. The problem is we don't know what they will ask to everybody, because sanitary, probably we have to adapt all structure to control all people will come in the proximally future, probably mask, detergent, or distance. So we are a hostel, so it's more complicated maybe of the other one. About what you say, Lior, better have 10-20%. I'm not really agree with you, because if I have to pay staff, everybody with the 20%, I'm gonna kill myself. Anyway, what we're gonna do is at the moment for Antonio, the strategy is use standard rate to calculate the demand of the market. So you can put that, and if you see August, you 30-40 is for you, it's okay, you can open. If not, deleted. September grow up is the only strategy that you can do, because nobody know about that. Now I'm gonna launch one bomb for everybody. No, now everybody's scared about coronavirus, but in this day I'm scared about another thing more than coronavirus. Is Europe drama. What's happening, because we talk about coronavirus, but coronavirus is money to rest live till March 21, because this is the deadline. But what's happening if Europe don't come together, don't find a solution, and start to destroy the situation? Because a lot of economists say that it will be very, very big drama, no? So I launched this bomb. Sorry, guys.
I'm not picking up that bomb. I'm not an economist.
So I'm agree with that, Marco, and the situation is going to be pretty crap. So I can be really optimistic about this for sure, because the situation is very, very dramatic. But like I heard before, so we need, I think, to try to take the decisions, you know, day by day. We're living really in a very, very strange situation for everyone, so no one have now the answer of anything, so it's impossible. So the idea of try and fail, try and right is the one that it's gonna probably be imposed in all our lives now, you know. But well, I think that kind of conversations try to at least find a direction for that is going to be the one that everyone is going to follow, and in these cases I think for us, like you say, the post-COVID is going to be tough for our business more than for hotels. The people say that the young travelers are going to be the first ones that are going to move, but we don't really know how are going to be the government restrictions about, you know, stay with more people together in a room, for example. So now I know that the quota of people that can get in every restaurant for 100 square meters are going to be 20 people. This is ridiculous. So in this case, what is going to happen with our shared dorms of 10 people? So are not gonna be used for 10. So just gonna be used for 2 or 3. And what happened with our 4-bed dorms? So it's gonna be just used by 1. So this is the questions are in my mind, but I can answer me. Not even myself, and not even the government, not even nobody. You know, so I'm with you, Marco. So we have like a big question mark in our life now, and we need to follow step by step and take the decisions day by day, like the government.
Anyway, if a flight open, we will open, because if everybody go inside
Exactly.
the plane,
So I think
we can open for sure. One interesting question. The airplane, I read that they have like air condition that filter the virus for the 19%, no? So probably if they open in the future, we have to use this kind of filter in our room plus something like this. Nobody know. But if they open, everybody have to open. It's not only airplane, it's bar, cine, is a lot of industry. Of course, it will be slowly. For me, I think that we will survive, or if we are lucky, we can do a little occupancy from August, September. Very, very lucky in November, December, maybe people are bored to stay with his mother. They come back to travel in Europe if there is no drama.
Marco, one question. Which are the restrictions now that the government imposed or are thinking to impose in the post-COVID? So when you start to escalate, you know, the isolation of the people, you know? So what are the restrictions that the government's planning?
But this we will be the last, like a bar, no, and the gym, because gym have another big problem. Everybody touch everything, so we will be the last. For me, I think that for this I say it's August, September, and I talk with many people from around the world, and everybody say more or less the same thing, no? The problem is if you're your instructor, you have a private bathroom, and maybe you can adapt for some family or maybe some worker or whatever else. But I don't know. Really, I don't have the answer. I live day by day, like everybody. Is the first time I think that the only thing you can planify is, like you say, hibernate. If you want to hibernate, say, okay, I'm safe. I calculate if I can live till January, February, March 2001. From then, we will see. This is the only thing I do. I talk to you with the heart, honestly with you, because nobody knows, nobody.
Because I'm trying as well to adapt our hostel for family terms, or family that is one public that is surely gonna travel around Spain in the next August or September. So the families want to leave the houses that they spend like a lot of months, you know, inside the houses. So they want to travel for sure. But I think they're gonna be safer. So thinking like a family, so I'm a family of 5 members. So if I need to go, I'm not going to go to a hostel. Why? Because if I have the Airbnbs and have my private apartment, so I prefer go there and don't try to, you know, contact with other people. So this is the family market. So it's for the reason that I'm not sure even if we move to other kind of customers, all the effort that we're going to do in trying to do the captation of that people are going to work, or are going to be we can support, you know, that marketing impulse that we're going to try to do to capture that people. So we're going to have, you know, the revenue of that.
The problem with businessmen, don't forget that at the end you have to calculate the money. Just like that, unfortunately, it's not all money, but when you open, you have to see if, how much they pay, if they're gonna pay 10 euro, 12 euro, 14 euro, 20 euro. If you really, for example, we have we have a private bathroom, a small room, so I can adapt more or less to the family, no? But also with this, I ask to myself, of course, but family are the worst guests for hostel, because they want to pay very less, they crowded, they pretend. So how much they gonna pay? Which kind of problem? This is enough. Take care, because in Spain and Italy, they say that we can fire people. So if I open, I have to take my 5 employee again. So is it convenient to stay open, or is better stay closed? Because nobody say that, but here we have Podemos, everybody know, all this kind of thing, that want that you maintain people is right too. But what do we do? If we open with 20% or 30%, and we have to pay everything, because we ask money, but we have more doubt at the end of this, because we're gonna pay the money they give us. So I don't know.
Breaking even the
point.
point.
The discourse, guys. Sorry.
Julia wanted to bring something to our attention as well.
Yeah. Well, hi everybody. Actually, the guys anticipate me. We did have a call last Tuesday among Italian hostels, and one of the main concern we had was not about when the pandemic will be people feeling comfortable to travel again. But I think my main concern, at least, and I think a lot of other, at least Italian people have, is when we'll be able to open legally, and what kind of restriction we will have to face. So nothing is set in stone now, so we can only guess. But our government already said that places where people used to gather will be the last one to be open. So bars, restaurants, cinema, gym, and with a really strict restrictions regarding distance and the number of people who can access these places. So personally, I'm not even sure we'll be able to open again, at least this season. And if so, I'm concerned about will be able to respect all the restrictions. Because imagine just a common kitchen. What should I do? Either tell people you can only cook 2, like do turns, like shift for cooking, or maybe just close the kitchen. So take off one of the facility people appreciate the most. If I was in the position to decide in the government against my own interest, I wouldn't allow strangers to share a room, because this is a big factor of risk. And I'm afraid this will be what will happen for hostels. So the solo traveler, which is in our case probably 70-80% of our market, won't be allowed to travel. So I think we will have to adapt to a new target. Small groups, maybe students looking for a place, like a long-term place to attend university, who stay at the hostel the first days before finding a home. Family, unfortunately, because I don't like to take family as well. And so what our strategy, whenever we'll be able to open again, the first step, unfortunately, because I don't like to do this, will be to make the option of give away private rooms, which doesn't mean 2 people. It could be a group of 4 people, but to make the option of each room to be also private. Maybe if this is part of what the government prescribed, to assign each room a bathroom. So what was the female bathroom will have a key, and I will give to a certain room and say, you can use this bathroom. And so maybe I will have at the end like 5 rooms I can turn into private. But what I'm also concerned about is how to make our guests understand this is something we cannot control, like a low restriction. So in order not to disappoint their expectation, because they're coming to a hostel to socialize. So I think even if we'll be able to put maybe 2 people in a dorm, 2 solo travelers, to respect like the social distance, they won't be able, they can't expect what we were offering, like family dinners, activities. So maybe I'm also wondering, and that's what we were asking on the first stage to the OT when we had the hostel work call in Italy a couple of weeks ago. Someone was asking, please take the charge of explaining guests that not for our own decision, we might have to reduce the facilities we're giving to our customer. And they're kind of, no, that's your task. That's something you are in charge of with your customer. Say it in a polite way, but that was basically the answer. So I'm also considering, whenever we'll be able to host people again, to send an email maybe after the confirmation, explaining briefly, because people are not really keen to read a long test, but that we'll try to take as many cleaning precautions as we can to assure like they're going to be safe, but also explaining that unfortunately it might be the case, hopefully not, but I'm pretty sure it might be the case, we won't be able to offer the services we got good review for. That's also because we might spoil our reputation when everything will get back to the like normal situation. We might have spoiled our situation, like our reputation. Hopefully when the vaccine will be found, so I reckon maybe next spring, maybe we'll be able to work as usual. So like shared dorms, no social distance. But in the meantime, I'm afraid, at least in Italy, we might have to face this kind of issues. I don't know if other people have experiences or suggestions.
So I want to talk about the reality in Mexico. I'm in Puerto Escondido, and they haven't had any. Well, they actually just locked now or closed a lot of hotels and hostels, but just recently. But until not so long ago, tourists were still coming, and actually flights still moving around. Like Mexico still receiving people from other countries, which I don't agree with that, but that's the reality. And the hostels were already reacting to that, not even with the government saying something that these are the measures, these are the distances that you have to take, but already the hostels that were able to do it, they were already adapting some share rooms to private, some rooms with 8 beds to 4, because also, I mean, also people were traveling less, so it's not that they were going to have overbooking problems. And at the same time, they didn't want to give the guests the impression that they were going to be very close together. So I mean, it's a shitty reality because you will be able to to sell much less. But yes, that's what people were already doing. And that's also what I wanted to say to Antonio when he was saying that even if the government won't say that these are the restrictions, the normative, I would think that the market itself, even if we have adventurous people that we just want to keep traveling and everything, this is a brainwash for everyone. Like during these times, like we are at least a little scared of getting this infection that is a little more deadly than a common flu. Well, not a little, like three times more. But so people will still, even if the government is not giving these restrictions, people will still be careful. And also, I mean, by doing this, I know also that it's not the ideal situation, but it doesn't mean that if you cancel your kitchen, if you cancel the living room or some other spaces, I don't think that the travelers won't understand, because if it's the normative or if it's the common thing to do in the whole country or in the whole world, everyone in the world are facing this situation. So people will understand why we are doing it. It's for our own health, to protect all of us. And it also doesn't mean that the hostel will lose the spirit of a hostel. I have here, I mean, I'm here in my house. It's a bed and breakfast. It's 10 rooms. It's all private, even if at first I wanted to make a hostel, but the owner of the house didn't let me. So it's all private, but we call it the hostel for grown-ups, because it's for digital nomads, but we don't have good internet. We all go to a co-working space, not anymore, it's closed, but whenever there's people here, there's a big terrace where people can share everything. I mean, moments, look at the sunset, whatever. It really feels like a hostel, even if everything is private rooms, just because of the vibe that we want to give it, to give to this place. So it is not all lost. Like, it is not like, oh, we are going to just lose our reputation. It's more like adapting, and I think people will understand. As again, it's a shitty scenario where if we get to receive reservations, I have just one left guest that he's leaving in like 7 days, and that's it. All the reservations are canceled. Even if Airbnb is not restricted, all the reservations are canceled, and I don't have reservations for like 5 months maybe, and even low season is coming anyways. But yeah, I mean, I think it's shitty, but we will have to adapt anyways, and there's hope in that part of. I don't think we will lose that vibe of a hostel because things get more like a private thing, like adapting the rooms to private rooms. And that's what I want to say.
Awesome, thank you so much. So guys, unfortunately, I'll have to cut off. It's already been 1 hour and a half around one topic that we had on our list. So I guess we'll need to redo these chats. So yeah, so we'll keep making them every Thursday at the same time. Okay, so at 6 p.m. Central European summertime. We'll send you the email with the link to add to your calendar, and hopefully we can use the same meeting link, right, Leo?
I think so.
Okay, if not, we'll send the correct one. We'll send the correct one in the email this time. Promise. And so yeah, guys, to finish off, I wanted just to ask you if we could do like a screenshot of everybody smiling. If somebody doesn't want to show up in the picture, then feel free to turn off your camera, okay?
Antonio's waiting.
All right, guys, so I'll do like a three
Looks like we're happy about coronavirus. Come on.
It's like, let's say just like, we won over bookings. All right, guys, so everybody smile to the camera. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. All right. Also, Linda is asking if it's possible to do it earlier. Linda, what do you mean earlier? Like earlier?
I think she means probably the calls every Thursday.
Even I don't know, just even a half an hour earlier. I don't know. We're not doing anything all day, essentially. So
right.
For us,
well, we decided to do it at 6 because also keeping in mind we're noticing that a lot of engagement we're having are from people in the States. So keeping that time zone in mind, I didn't want to make it too early our time so that people from America continent can join. I don't think we have many people. I mean, Mexico, but I don't think there's many Americans or South American, but they are engaging with us. So I want to be open to them as well. And I figured 6, at least for Spanish people, it's enough time so that we can have dinner afterwards. That is Jose. Yeah, so I mean, we can look at reconsidering time. I wouldn't want to change it if possible, because again, it's about making that structured. I mean, just changing the room had this effect. So changing the time would also, I mean, people won't read and they won't see that the time's different. So if we can make it for 6, I think it's best for people in the Americas, and it's kind of flexible for us as well.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you.
No problem.
Awesome, everybody. So thank you very much for joining. Stay tuned for next week.
Stay
Bye.
safe. Ciao.
Bye.